In a world dominated by superheroes, the grandfather of them all returns to the big screen in the first major test of James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC Studios. The question is, does this film have what it takes to tell an amazing Superman story while launching a whole new shared universe for DC?
Hey buddy, eyes up here.
Superman finds the Man of Steel taking on arch-nemesis Lex Luthor while trying to navigate the complexities of trying to do the right thing in a world that's a little too similar to our own. James Gunn has made a Superman movie that is unapologetically comic book in the best way possible. This film hits the ground running and introduces us to a DC universe that feels lived in. Metahumans have existed for 3 centuries, so in a world where super is the norm, what makes Superman special? That is the thesis of the movie, as the beauty of Gunn Superman is that it holds a mirror up to the world and forces us to view our own faults while believing that we can be better. Superman represents the best parts of humanity and gives us ideals to strive towards, and I think that's a great perspective for the film. The vision, of course, is heavily reliant on the performance of Superman, and David Corenswet is up for the task. It was like this man was born to play Superman. His Clark is endearing, his Superman is relatable, and he radiates light from beginning to end. This movie is dependent on David to shine in order to succeed, and his star burns bright. He's somehow able to tap into the best aspects of different Supermen and bring them together in a version that feels unique but so very familiar. Accompanying Superman is Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, who presents us with another fantastic adaptation of the character. Listen, there's been a wealth of outstanding Lois Lane performances, but Brosnahan may very well take the cake, giving us a Lois that is rough around the edges with a strict journalistic integrity. Her chemistry with Corenswet is off the charts, but she's no second fiddle in this relationship, and the character actually has a lot of agency throughout the movie. Rounding out the 3 leads is Nicholas Hoult, who I believe delivers the greatest on-screen Lex Luthor performance of all time, and that's saying something because I'm a huge fan of Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. This version of Lex just oozes with disgust and hatred for Superman. You can feel it radiating off of his performance. Like David, Holt taps into the Lexes before him while transforming the role into his own. I see shades of Hackman, Rosenbaum, and Clancy Brown's iconic Lex Luthor from the DCAU. It was wonderful to see a version of Lex that fleshed out the character's full intellectual potential and made him seem like a real problem. The Daily Planet crew is also perfectly cast, and the bullpen feels like it was ripped straight from the pages of a DC comic book. Skylar Gisondo in particular is a fun standout for me as everyone's best pal Jimmy Olsen, and one of my only real complaints of the movie is that I absolutely needed more Wendell Pierce as Perry White. The Justice Gang and Metamorpho provide us with a window into the metahuman side of the DCU, with the group featuring 2 huge scene stealers in Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner. When this group of characters was announced, I was really curious why Gunn chose those particular characters. And now the vision is clear. They're all very flawed individuals in radically different ways, and their POV is very important to the new frontier that Superman ushers in. Beyond characterizations, I think Gunn succeeds in layering in themes of identity and legacy in a way that's new and exciting for this character. He takes a pretty big swing with Clark's backstory, and I think it pays off for this story because it makes us think and makes Clark very relatable as a protagonist. Gunn publicly stated that he turned down writing this film a few times because he really didn't have a unique and emotional way in. However, the dichotomy of Clark's 2 sets of parents as well as his heritage helped him work his way into a story that he really wanted to tell. After seeing the film, I now fully understand what he meant by this. Analyzing parenthood and the fact that our parents are in fact people. Flawed, but trying their best for the most part. Sometimes the image we have of ourselves doesn't always line up with the one they have for us, and that's okay. I went into this film with some pretty high expectations, but this movie beat the odds and was somehow able to meet and exceed them. This is a Superman story that taps into the character's entire comic book history and presents us with a story that is pure Superman. James Gunn gives us the fantastical science fiction of the Silver Age mixed with a dash of Superman's greatest tales. I grew up reading DC Comics and watching Bruce Timm's DCAU, and this movie feels like that world brought to life. It blends that Silver Age silliness with serious storytelling. It's a world where Superman can fight a kaiju one day while attempting to stop a war another, where our hero can tackle themes of immigration, morality, and what it means to be a hero, all while wearing bright red underoos. This movie doesn't pull any punches and reminds us of how dark our real world has become. In times like these, maybe doing the right thing for the right reasons is the truest act of rebellion. Superman could very well be the beginning of a new frontier, not only for the DCU, but for comic book movies. Whereas Batman Begins and Christopher Nolan ushered in a wave of grounded and gritty superhero films, Superman feels like the beginning of a new age of comic book cinema, one that is uninhibited by the limitations that we put on the genre. If this movie is anything to go by, then I think it's safe to say that the pantheon of DC characters is in very, very good hands. Overall, I think the vast majority of people will end up really loving this film. It's the truest form of summer blockbuster. It's perfect for families, fans, and everyone in between. With that being said, it is time for me to give my score on the film, and out of 5 Superman insignias, S-shields, Kryptonian sigils of hope, whatever you prefer to call it, I am giving Superman 4.5 out of 5 S symbols. This movie is bordering perfection for me. It was everything I wanted it to be, and then some. I really, really think if you're a fan of DC characters, or if you grew up watching the DC cartoons, you'll really love this movie. Hell, even if you grew up watching the 1970s Super Friends or cartoons beyond that, whether you're a fan of the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, or modern comic books, I think there's something in this movie for everyone, and I highly recommend you check out Superman when it hits theaters July 11th.